Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to optimize your garden for endgame crafting and currency farming. So this will be a bit of a continuation video from my last setup video, but in all honesty this is going to be showing you basically how to set it up in a final form for maximum efficiency. So we'll get straight into it and I'll go over all the details on what I think is necessary. So when setting up your garden, you will need some tier 1 seed growing areas. So initially we had all thought that you'd probably need a lot more of these than you'd want, but if you're not farming delirium, you really do only need 3 of each color, unless you're adopting a strategy of buying tier 1 seeds to farm up additional crafts or other tier 2 seeds. But if you're self-farming, you're just doing maps, you should only need 3 of each color, and honestly you can probably get away with 2 of each color just fine. So I'd recommend putting these in the corners, probably somewhere around the place that I've put them here. These are good areas for them and you'll be just fine. So the next thing I want to quickly touch on is tanks. So a lot of people have been thinking you need only 3 or 4 of each color of these, but I would recommend going the full mile and just putting all of your spare space into tanks. And the reason for that is a lot of the time when you're mapping and you don't really want to engage with some crazy harvest planting, you just go in there, you auto plant, you go out and you just carry on with your day. You want to be able to condense that life force and store it. Now you're not always going to be growing tier 2 and 3 plants or tier 4 plants, but in the event that you want to go on a mission and craft something crazy, maybe you need to grow a bunch of tier 4 plants or something like that, you don't want to have to then grind that life force. You want to just have it there. So my recommendation would be to build as many tanks as you can to store up the life force that you have from grinding tier 1 seeds, because obviously tier 1 seeds are very profitable to grind. And then when you do want to invest in going for some tier 4 crafts, or you're adopting a tier 3 or 2 strategy to kind of make a little bit of extra currency on the side, you'll have the life force to do it. So I've got a bunch of blue tanks over there, and I've put a bunch of yellow tanks over here, and I've got a bunch of pink tanks up here. And then I've also dotted in some additional tanks where I can find the space, just to get a little bit of extra spare life force storage. So this has worked really well for me, and whenever I've wanted to do any big crafting sessions or anything like that and I needed the life force to do it, I had it available to me, which was fantastic. So yeah, definitely go all in on the tanks. I think it's a pretty good idea. So now you only need about 2 to 3 different types of the tier 1 stations, but you should grab as many tanks as you can. What is the last 2 pieces of this puzzle? So the next thing you're probably going to want to plan out is obviously your tier 2 to 4 growing area. It's pretty well known now that you can pretty much get any seed in any sort of layout by kind of using a configuration. There's plenty of them on Reddit, but this is the one I'm using here. It also utilizes some exterior seeds here to make sure that I get the full growth zone of 24 seeds. And you're probably wondering, why do you need a full area of that? That is because you get a actual loot multiplier the more seeds in the field at once when you harvest it. This is also based on tier. So if you have a full harvest of tier 3 seeds, you're going to have a massive loot multiplier on it, and you're going to get more loot and potentially more tier 4 seeds, although that is unconfirmed at this time. But why wouldn't you go for it if it has any chance at all of being true? So you basically want the full 24 seeds in every field before you click that harvest button, at giving you the maximum chance potentially at higher tier seeds. So you're going to want to set one of these areas up. I do reference on how to do this pretty accurately in my last video. This is a more advanced setup using the exterior seeds, but I'm sure if you do a bit of digging, you can find this layout as well. We're not going to go into detail on how to build this here. So we do have our tier 2 to 4 grow zone up there, and it's pretty effective as well. I'd recommend putting it up here. I've seen most other people put it up here as well. It does seem to be the natural place to put it, as it has the most spare space to set up all the wiring required, and you can fit all 3 colors in here nice and easy. Now what I like to do when I'm mapping is, if I'm not growing any tier 3 or 4 seeds or whatever, I just put tier 1 seeds in here as well, effectively giving me an extra field of each color at my disposal, so I can churn through those seeds a bit quicker. If I've built up a surplus, or if I've bought some of other players, I can get through them a bit quicker as well. So pretty good in my opinion, and I do really like this setup. So the last piece of the puzzle here, which we'll go over to, is horticulture stations. So you can see here that I have 6x3 kind of fields of each color. I believe this is the optimal amount if you're really wanting to min-max things. Of course, this takes an absolute ton of Lifeforce to do, but you can achieve this in just a few harvests if you grab a bunch of tier 3 blue plants and use the doubling plant. I think it's called the primal... It's a primal something tier 3 plant which doubles the yield. You can get this amount in kind of just 1 or 2 harvests. But what I like to do, I used to actually go insane on these, and I had about 30 or 40 additional up here and like another 30 or 40 over here, and it was all the way out here as well. I found that this was too confusing, and when you have that many stations, you actually spend more time looking for crafts than you do mapping, which is completely insane. So what you actually want to do with these is you want to have about this amount out. You could probably go even for even less than this, and then as they become full, you withdraw them, you like pick them up, and then you put fresh ones down, connect them all up like you would, and then you put those into your stash. And then in the stash, you can actually use that search function in the stash to search crafts, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's going to save you an absolute ton of time. So if I wanted to look for augment attack, I could just look up augment attack, and we can see, okay, look, there's one there, you know, okay, so we don't have one there, we got one, a life augment there, but you know, we can look up and try and find attack based ones, and it really narrows it down and increases the speed in which you can do it. Then you just take these out when you need them, slap it down, and then you can use up the craft that way. So of course you do need quite a lot of Lifeforce to have this kind of system. As you can see, I've done this with quite a lot of stations now. But once you do get it going and you kind of get the cycle going and you can store up the crafts, this is going to become a money making machine for you, and it's going to be very fast and effective to see if you have a craft which you can sell to another player. You can just quickly invite them, sell it to them, you know, make a few extra results on the side using the TFT Discord server, which is super good. So that's kind of been my kind of like streamlining of everything. I think it's really important to set up your garden for success, because a lot of the currency this league is going to come from effective use of your garden. This is the primary league mechanic, and it is one of the most rewarding that I've ever seen, whether that's niche kind of like conversion strategies like flipping fossils into fractured fossils, or flipping delirium orbs into like skittering orbs. That's really profitable, or maybe some crush claw action, getting those Perandus coins going, or even just farming bulk tier 1 seeds and selling the crafts to other players, or maybe crafting some items of your own. You need an effective garden setup, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight on how to do that. Of course, all the normal rules apply. You know, we went over the basics in the first video, but after you really do set it up, probably a similar like I've got up here, you will really start to reap those rewards, and you'll have access to all the harvest content that is on offer. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this short little kind of tour of my garden, and maybe you guys can model your garden after mine, and it'll be really, really effective for you guys as well. So with all that said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.